Welcome to the Talkback!
Welcome to Tales Unraveled.
We're unraveling the tales.
We're unraveling the tales here.
I'm not sure if this is going to be the forever format, but like one or two of you are sick, so we didn't want to.
Yeah, well, I think we're both feeling a lot better now, but both me and Jesse got COVID, and we both thought we just had a really aggressive allergy.
You're allergic to COVID.
Turns out my body doesn't like it.
But
I'm testing negative now. But
me too.
We were like, might as well just do it over the internet. Maybe next week we'll do it in person.
Next week I would like to do it in person. But
I prefer it in person.
But for now, we got this. We got this format.
Episode 1 in the books. We're here to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Stephanie, you put in a lot of work here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to jump the gun here, but we actually did just get a question on the YouTube side that I think is a good start. It's like, when did the idea of this project come together?
Like last August, I brought up the idea of like, hey, it'd be fun to do a little tabletop thing.
Yeah, and you just kind of started like building from there. Like I remember having like a lot of lunch meetings, and then you like randomly at one of them is like, yeah, I have this wiki with all of the like world lore in it. I'm like, what? You pulled it up and it had like a full map. You're insane. Like
just a little thing. Just a little thing I'm throwing together.
So like when I was a kid, what I would do is I would I would watch the Lord of the Rings appendices a lot and world build for fun. So having a good excuse for work invent an entire universe to tell stories in is just letting me basically be a teenager.
Hell yeah.
Embrace youth.
So
not in the creepy way.
Where can you get the race that Jesse played? Someone's asking. You can't. We just picked a tabaxi and then I gave it a few extra things. So
yeah, all of these things are standard races with some homebrew stuff thrown in.
Yeah, but yeah.
Except for me.
For people asking,
basic bitch, variant human. Well, I guess they're not basic bitch.
For people asking though, I did the art. I made all the music. And so that's where that stuff comes from. Because people have been asking and people have been saying. But yeah, so and really it's overkill to write all original music as well. I've written nearly 40 tracks.
I do have a follow-up question as a DM myself, because when it comes to like crafting a campaign in a world, what I usually do is like, or at least what I've done for the campaign that I run presently, is I talk to my players and I had them come up with their characters, tell me what they wanted their backgrounds to be, and then I built the world around them. Now, you had this world beforehand, so what was the spark of inspiration for this world that kind of got you going?
Well, if I'm honest, no, I didn't. I actually I had these various ideas for a bunch of stuff. Like, I have fantasy story ideas all the time, and I just sort of combine them to make this happen.
So it's just kind of like an amalgam of a bunch of ideas you'd previously
yeah. And the whole thing of Bastion being an isolated island was just to keep myself from having to build too much. Like,
smart.
It's like I can make this series of islands extremely fleshed out and not have to worry about a surrounding world.
Very smart. It's smart to have it on an island. Mine's like one giant Pangea-like continent, and it just... I have no answer for what the rest of the globe is like.
I have some answers for what the rest of the globe is like, if I'm perfectly honest. You guys haven't even seen that. But
right.
It's all very vague. I like to keep, like, this is how I write for scripted stuff as well. I keep things as loose as possible so that if I have a better idea, I could go with that instead and just work in the stuff I've already done into that. So the goal is that everything looks super planned out and like I had it all figured out from the beginning, but I very intentionally do not. And that's generally how I do stuff. I feel like that's just the smartest way to build out things.
Well, and then to go into just what kind of world you made, we did pull a few of these questions ahead of time from our Patreon and from our channel members on Four Star Bento. We have from 13 Absols. It's a lot of Absols. What sort of magic is allowed in this setting?
I mean, I don't have a hard and fast answer to that. Like I said, I'm keeping it loose. Like, I have ideas for like what kinds of people use what kinds of magic, but there's no like, oh, definitely not this. Again, it's sort of open enough to where, and non-specific enough to where anything can be added into the story and not feel like it's a huge retcon all of a sudden.
Yeah, there are certain groups that are against certain types of magic, so it's like more about who you use it in front of, right? Rather than like
like there's like there's sort of different categorizations of magic, but one might say that those divisions are somewhat arbitrary and decided by people, kind of like lines of division in real life.
And going off of that, when it comes to specific characters, we have Audio Dragon asking, was giving Maud getting Maud and Shapaloo the default ability to speak with animals due to Jesse's enjoyment of that in Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I saw how much Jesse liked talking to cats. And so, one, I decided to invent a cat race for Jesse to play. And two...
I mean, if you could, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was like, hey, let's make some like kind of skinny Totoros. Like,
Yeah, I've been talking to my cats normally, so what if they actually listened to me?
Or at least if they understood.
If they understood.
I
feel like my cats understand.
A lot of my prep work in building the campaign was honestly just trying to find ways for each of the players to be invested. That was like my number one goal. Like Nick asked, hey, I'm interested in playing a satyr. Can we make a... And it's like, yeah, cool. Let's invent a satyr, a race of satyr people, but let's make it a little different because, I don't want to just do typical D&D stuff.
I haven't played a bard yet, and it's a class that I always kind of wanted to play. And I'm like, what would be a fun bard class? Just a happy-go-lucky traveler, like almost Gandalf-like character. Mm-hmm. What about something that's kind of long-lived, like a satyr? Like I was thinking about, like the old Greek legends of the like Dionysus following satyrs, like the party people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like when Nick was like, hey, a satyr race, and I was like, okay, they're called the Fawny, and I started building out like just a whole like hippie society for like half hobbit, half hippie sort of thing.
And I think
very free love.
If you want to learn more about the Fawny people, I believe episode 1 or episode 0, Karna's backstory is available on Patreon right now.
Yeah, it's called Karna's
members.
Story. Yeah,
Karna's
YouTube members
story.
on 4-Star Bento and on Patreon, you can find Karna's story, and it's a full hour of backstory that we played for Nick, and I guess we could talk about that too. That for each of you, I thought it'd be fun for us to play out just your backstory as Session 0.
Yeah, as kind of like a character building thing.
And like in the editing, it doesn't quite come through, but like we decided to do it in a way where you play kind of statless for like the first half, and then once we feel like we've gotten a lot of context for the character, then we built out the stats together and came back for the second half. And I know at least like for Quinn and Nick, you guys said it did inform decisions you made in creating the characters.
Yes. Yeah, kind of hard not to with mine, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I waffled on a couple of things that were set in stone by the Session 0.
And to be clear, that's an idea that I got from listening to Worlds Beyond Number, D&D podcast. Which is my personal favorite it's not actual play, but like D&D campaign for entertainment out there. Which is saying a lot because I'm really an audiovisual guy, so a pure audio thing being my favorite is a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did a whole little like backstory playthrough that was so much fun, and I was like, okay, let's do like a kind of limited version of that, which with each of the characters where we sort of see where they're at. And
I am a little curious in terms of like choice in classes. Jesse, what made you want to choose a rogue?
Well, my first D&D campaign, I wanted to choose a rogue, but it had already been chosen, and so I kind of just like forgot about it. And then now I was given the choice. So when I was like, when Stefan and I were going through the choices of like different classes and different like species and shit that I could choose, I remembered that rogue was something that I was interested in, but everyone, like, rogues are cool. Everyone always, like, it's always usually taken by the time I get there, so I've never actually gotten the choice. So it felt like even though it was offered to me, it felt like it could be taken away. So I was like, rogue? And he was like, cool, yeah. And then we just started building it. And I was like, oh, is this real? And it doesn't feel quite real to me yet. I'm sure it'll sink in eventually once we start.
It doesn't feel real.
Yeah, once we start season 2, I'm sure it'll feel more real to me after we go through an entire season first.
And that reminds me. So for those asking, yes, we're going to do this every Wednesday for a little bit. Right now, there's only 5 episodes. It took me a long time to get us set up. Yeah, to get us set up for this to run smoothly. And also, frankly, we got to find an editor that's not me, just so that I have time to work on other stuff for us. But
email your applications.
People are actually going to do that. Is
I mean, if they have a reel, and if they have like, look, you just saw episode 1. That's what we're looking for. Something like
if you
that.
have a good reel, then yeah, maybe do send it to us. We it's not like we couldn't use another editor, but
no spoiler, it'll probably end up being me.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
I think you kind of answered this in chat during the premiere, but we did get a question from Eric asking for Stefan. Did they manage, us being the players, to already screw up any of your plans this episode? If you can answer without spoilers.
Not really. This is gonna be a theme with me. I guess I could pretend like, I planned everything meticulously. I don't. I keep it as loose as I possibly can. I have places that we need to hit and like things we need to hit, but I try not to force it too much because that would feel bad from an audience perspective and a player perspective. And so I try to at when I can, like, make sure that nobody's feeling railroaded, even if they are being. You guys did get close. Like you did throw me off. Like using sleep threw me off. I didn't know you had sleep. You didn't give me your full sleep.
I had shown you my character sheet, but yeah, I specifically decided as a bard I did not want to do like a lot of enchantment type magic, and I didn't want to use vicious mockery because I wanted him to be like a nice guy. I don't want him to like shame people. But sleep feels like a good one. Just like calms everybody down, and it really helps in early combat.
And the thing, and you guys will see this, I guess. I don't want to spoil too much, but like, you guys do a lot to try and de-escalate fights, which I'm not against. But it does mean that I have to kind of plan for a fight not to happen sometimes.
Somebody really has to hate Karna to want him dead.
Well, at least it cuts down the amount of time you have to spend in Blender.
Yeah, but then it also cuts down on a good gimmick. We got a good gimmick nobody else is doing, and
oh yeah, no. So that during that episode, that was our genuine reaction to seeing that he had made that battle map in Blender, because we had not seen that before.
Yeah.
So the fights that we do have in this season are like honestly some of my favorite fights that I've done in D&D, because they're creative and like weird shit happens and stuff that I've never experienced before. So I'm glad we were selective with our battles.
This is both probably a weakness and a strength, but I am not like super into specifically the world of D&D and playing D&D specifically. I like D&D as an avenue for collective storytelling and improvisational storytelling. That's its main use to me. So like I'm not really trying to necessarily like do things everybody else is doing. I know everyone starts in a tavern because that's easier, and it would have been easy to like be like, all right, you all have a job together. And I kind of made it hard on myself by having you all have entirely different motivations for doing things. But I just, I wanted it to feel natural and not, I don't know, just not start that way. I think it's more interesting if everybody comes from different walks of life and just sort of ends up coming together by twists of fate. I think that's more compelling from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, no, it felt very organic to me, at least as a player.
That's kind of you've kind of been answering this as you've been answering the other questions, but just to give Alexander Q. Cortez a chance, asking that they're a DM and they always like hearing other DMs' mindsets. What was going through your mind as you made this campaign, the world, and the characters in it?
It was honestly a lot of, oh god, how am I gonna do this well? I stop making more things. Why can't I stop making more things? A lot of that, but I just get excited, which is like my strength and again, the strength and a weakness. I get very excited and just throw myself into something and just put my entire pussy into it.
With the whole one in it.
Drop it in there.
The whole thing.
Is it wet?
I don't know.
It is. He's excited. He just said he's excited.
All in there.
But like
Put it into everything you do.
Like putting just marginally less ass in there. Like not even half ass, but like maybe like 3/4 ass. I can't really do it. I
3/4 asshole pussy.
I keep trying.
Less ass,
it's always
more
whole
pussy.
ass. It's always whole assing things, and it's just difficult for me not to do that. So if I'm honest, a lot of it was just following what was exciting me creatively, and just hoping it would work out. Like I still very much feel like a amateur DM. I feel like a fairly like I think luckily my experience in just improv and entertainment in general helps a lot to cover up my flaws as a DM quite a bit. Also editing. Editing helps a lot. But like everything we do is at the table, but I do cut out stuff I think is boring and sort of like clean it up. And as you guys have seen and heard by now, like just do a lot of things with the video and audio to enhance the experience, which was mostly just done because that I need that to enjoy a D&D show.
We've talked about this privately, but like when friends of and I have talked about this show, I've talked about it like I describe it as D&D for people who don't even like D&D because we cut out the fat and it like really makes a difference, at least for me, because I can't watch a lot of live play stuff, but I think we keep a pacing that's like really keeps your attention. And I don't zone out during episodes, even though I played them. So I already know what's going to happen. So I appreciate making something that I would want to watch.
Yeah, there are some people out there that really like the mechanical crunchiness of D&D, the planning, the forethought. But if I'm going to be honest, one of my least favorite parts of D&D is the combat. Like, I feel like it drags a lot, personally, for me. But for the people that really like that crunchy stuff, that like the stats, the roll the dice, big numbers, I like chopping it down a little bit. So it's like this result done. I think that works.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, for me that's what I need. Like, I love Dimension 20. It's definitely a big reason why this exists at all. But even there, like sometimes the combat just takes a little too long to happen for me because I just want to get to all right, what's happening in the story, and combat is part of the story, but like when you spend a long time talking about the mechanics, I check out a bit.
Which I really love their Never Stop Blowing Up campaign because it's like the fastest that the combat has been happening. Like some of them I've tried to watch and unfortunately it takes a little too long to get there for me, but it's like go
Yeah, but so like when we do combat, like in like at the table, I did the blender thing just like it makes it fun at the table, it makes it interesting for people to look at home, and also just combat will happen when it happens. Like Nick noted at one point while we were playing, like that I will let them avoid combat if they find a good way out of it. Like I'm not a stickler on no. I worked on this encounter. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Except for this one, because this was an inciting incident for the story.
Well, yeah, and it like these people weren't going to be like negotiated with. They had a mission from a higher power.
Yeah. Sometimes a fight does need to happen just to get the story moving, but that's just general storytelling.
That said, when that fight started, there was nothing stopping us from just being like, "Gonna go that way."
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have ran away.
Good luck.
Hopefully had manipulated your emotions enough to where you wouldn't want to, but
I got shoved.
So again, we've dabbled in an answer to this question, but James Wynn has asked a couple. When it comes to using the Blender battle map, what made you land on controlling the battle map without the players? I would assume it was just because there was no real way for us to get into Blender with you to move tokens and whatnot.
Yeah, there's no way to do it with Blender, and I wanted Blender just because that was the only way I could work out to like make it look good to my personal standards.
Yeah, and luckily with the way that it's edited, it doesn't really affect anything. It does take a little bit more time when we're actually playing, but it's not a big deal when we're like in the end product, and that's what matters in this case.
And when the board is all set up already, because you guys are gonna play it, it means all I have to do is go in, do some camera moves, move stuff around related to like what you guys decided, and then render out the frames that I need. And I'm old hat enough at Blender at this point to where that's a pretty quick process for me.
James also wanted to know, Jesse, how did you and I end up on the accents for our characters? You can go first.
Sure. Yeah. Well, when Stefan was going through the options for the creatures and shit, one of them was the Shapaloo, and he was like, these kind of like cat otter things.
I based them on a French name for Welsh folklore creatures.
Yeah. And so, like, he was like, I headcanoned them as, like, having a French accent, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And I was like, oh, no, of course I'll do that. That's, yes, giving me an excuse to do a silly French accent. Fuck yeah.
For Martin, it's just I wanted something foreign, and everything I do eventually defaults to just a kind of vaguely European, maybe East European accent. So that's how it happens.
And we kind of lampshaded that with like a, where is that from? Nowhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Europe. Yes, where? Oh, it's right in the smack of the dam.
It's somewhere in Eurovania.
It's right from the back of my ass.
To show my hand a little bit, part of the reason I was like, that's not from anywhere you've been is because I do kind of like have a thought for like a group of people that have like a Russian-esque accent, and I didn't want, but they're not here. So.
Spoilers.
And then Ronan Beth had a couple of questions for me. How much was Quinn's character influenced by the Mandalorians, and what was your motivation for picking the mobile feat as the one feat I could choose as a very human? First question, very easy answer. None. Not at all.
Not a like unfair assumption given your own interests, but
I definitely get where the question's valid, but the answer is none. And when it comes to the mobile feat, it's just because I was building a dex-oriented fighter. I didn't quite know what the class was going to be for a bit. And I thought it just made sense not only to make him have that larger range of movement, but that extra ability where if he tries to attack you, even if he misses, he can still move away without triggering an attack of opportunity. And I like that little hook about the idea about him just kind of weaving through the battlefield, trying to take hits where he could. And if it looked like his opponent was too tough, he could back off without having to worry about getting hit.
And a lot of the design sense, if it looks kind of Star Wars-y, and that's probably just because I drew it and I like Star Wars. Like I tried to make something that looked kind of just like lightweight armor for someone who is on the move.
The last two questions, I guess, are kind of from a character perspective. At least that's how I interpreted them. If you wrote this question and I'm wrong, I'm sorry, and feel free to insult me in the comments.
Don't
Sam
Demonic.
Sam Demonic was asking, not Lanny, but Karna,
Oh,
I believe.
yes?
What was the worst job you have ever taken that you regret?
I don't think Karn has ever regretted a job per se. There are things in his life that he has regretted. Check out episode 0, which will probably be released to everybody after the season is done. I'm guessing something, but I think Karna, just by his nature, by how I have created him, does not dwell on many things. He does not dwell on many, he dwells on very few things negatively because it's all part of a greater story, part of his journey. And everything that has gone into it is what makes him him. And it's what, all of these experiences that color him. And to him, that's beautiful. Even some of the sadder bits.
Again, he's a hippie.
Yeah. No, I very much wanted to create a good vibes character. Mm-hmm. A lot of characters that I make in D&D, NPCs or player characters, they all have edgy dreadlord backstories. And while there is some sadness in Karna's backstory, I did not want I did not want to make that what defines him. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make it what motivates him. I wanted that to be an edge to his character, but I did not want that to be this is everything. This is my, he doesn't have a white whale per se.
It gives a character to
he
fuck him up a little bit.
He has texture. Karna's 130 years old, close to 150, something like that. He's been around a long time, and he comes from a very free-spirited people. Again, I kind of wanted to make almost like a Gandalf-esque kind of happy wanderer.
And I feel like that comes across.
Yeah, and it should as we go on.
And that takes us to the last of our prepared questions from this one's from Spooky Dragon 1994. Who is the most unhinged member of the party? And I feel like
Maud.
Your answer to that probably depends on if she's unhinged.
That was fast.
Yeah, really
yeah, she is. That's fair. She does some crazy shit.
It does depend on your version of unhinged, because I could see arguments for all of the characters. Karna has had such a long life that he's jaded as fuck by a lot of things and finds amusement in things that might be considered grisly. Maud is just kind of insane for various other reasons.
And Martin just doesn't see the world normal.
No.
And Martin's built on lies.
He hasn't been out in the world too long.
Yeah, Martin has an upbringing that really paints his vision of the world in a way that causes certain things.
As does Maud. Maud has a very particular upbringing.
Yeah,
all episode zeros will eventually be available.
Yes, episode 0 for Maud will be coming out around the same time as the third episode hits public. For patrons, and then the next week should be Martin's, I believe.
Yeah, I forget who was in the conversation, but I think we were throwing around the idea of once all the episodes are out, once we've aired season 5, then we would do a stream
5.
where we. I'm sorry. See, episode 5 is done.
Yeah.
6 seasons in a movie.
We just do it. Hashtag. We would put all of the session zeros together and stream that, and then do a little talkback about that, and then it would be available publicly.
Yeah, one thing about the session zeros is we very purposefully, for each other, decided to know nothing about, we don't know anything about each other's session zeros.
Yeah, it was really fun for us because we get to see the episodes once they're edited, but also the session zeros, I forgot about them. So I got to see my co-stars fucking backstories, and I was like, I wasn't in the room for this. This is really cool. To just see
you guys were waiting in the front
we were
of
sitting
the
in the
office for
lobby
2 hours.
Yeah.
I felt
go
so
get
bad.
lunch, eat it, and then still
Yes.
wait for you guys to finish.
I felt so bad. I went first. Mine was the longest.
Yes. Oh my god.
Not
yeah.
only because we had to establish a style for it, but because I lived for 130 fucking years.
Yeah.
Which
so
the
Quinn and
session
I were
zeros,
just,
by the way, are the first time I'm ever DMing, by the way.
Yeah.
And I did it for 5.5 hours to 6 hours straight.
Throw you in the deep end. Just fucking chuck you in it.
I did it. Like,
Yeah.
I did it to myself.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say something. I don't remember what it is. You go.
Mod, does Mod wear a full body like hair net if you make bread? It's one
It
of the
just-
chat questions.
It just stays. It stays in you. Don't worry. She's like, oh, I'm different. The hair
Built
does not come out. I'm built different, you know. They
Mod
say
does
not.
not shed.
They say not to put the little Q-tip in your ear, but no, I am different. I am so careful. It's different.
I did have a moment in editing episode 1 where I was just like, God, imagining Maud making bread is actually a nightmare for me. Just disgusting.
Do not worry. It is not sticky at all. Do not think too much about this. I make the bread that will be 2 bits.
We decided not to acknowledge it.
Yeah, it's like don't think too much about it. And there's more important things to be
Maybe
thinking
Maud
about.
wears gloves.
That'd be very funny. Just Maud wearing gloves and like everything else is just out.
You wear like a full gimp suit, just
We unzip the front. Oh, I am making some biscuits. I am secretary. We have an
This suit
A.
has two purposes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about what rating the bakery has, but it's an E, like just on the front of the fucking building.
It's
the safe
for
word.
hair.
The safe word is beignet.
By the way, Jesse, was the entire idea of working in a bakery just because you wanted the making biscuits thing?
No, honestly, I
Okay.
forgot. I forgot. Like, I was just making jokes about it, and then I realized in the moment, oh, cats make biscuits. That's a lot of my humor,
That wasn't
honestly.
even a planned bit. Okay.
Yeah, no, honestly, a lot of my humor in general is just me stumbling into things. Like, all my life is improv. I don't think things through.
Someone's asking, were you consider any other species or classes during creation? Let me check on how many species I've created so far.
You had a lot. As soon as I settled on I think I settled on Bard first, and almost immediately jumped to wanting to be a satyr. Specifically because I created a satyr in the Ties That Bind campaign, the campaign that I run, that I adore. And it was just out of improv, but I wanted to make the anti that character because he's very violent and loud.
I invented nine species for so
Hell
far.
yeah.
And go ahead.
I had technically not gone last, but when we were kind of pitching different ideas, I could tell that both Lanny and Jesse were aiming towards something more exotic. So I thought human, maybe just to try be a straight man. So that wasn't much deviation from there. Regarding class, I was torn between a lot of the martial classes and settled on paladin just because I kind of wanted to be a flexible member of the party.
I mean, in the end, I'm really happy with our lineup just because it allowed us to explore a really good vertical slice of the world in just 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes for a really good book 1. Like, everything that's coming up, I think it just gets better from here, personally.
I was very happy with, like, by the time we got to end of episode 5, which was a surprise to us, by the way. We didn't know it would end at 5. It was just like,
We thought it was
go.
going to be one more, but then surprise, we found a natural endpoint there.
Yeah, and endpoint meaning this is clearly a prologue to a bigger story, which was also not really what we were specifically going for.
Yeah.
It's just
Stumble
like,
into
oh, this feels like it's gonna get bigger.
Our story in a nutshell. Whoops.
Whoops! This is gonna be a lot.
What have I done? Every DM. Okay, that session was good. Oh no, this is getting bigger. Oh no, I introduced this. Oh no.
Yeah, but like, yeah, we're genuinely very excited that we've gotten to share this already, like just this much, and we're really excited. Part of the reason we're doing this is because we're really excited to just see how people react to stuff. Mm-hmm. We really want to make more, so we're So we're also like gonna try and find any way to monetize this we can.
Yeah.
So like we are working on shirts. We're also we're gonna try and put together an album of all the music I've written so far at some point. Some way for people to just listen to it on its own, because again, nearly 40 tracks. Got to do something with it.
Gotta, yeah.
We'll call it Evermore.
Is that an Evermore reference?
It is. It's like layered. No, bail. I need a bail.
I love the Beast song from the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Who did the music? I did. If it's audio or visual and it's not someone else's voice, I did it. At least at the moment.
Yeah, you wrote a whole song for me to sing for my episode 0.
Yeah. I thought it would just enhance the moment, and I feel like
It did. It did. I think it's a very poignant moment.
My goal, speaking of, by the way, like the all the backstories, I tried to keep them up to the quality of the episodes, because like my goal is for this to feel like a show that you're watching, not a bunch of people sitting around playing a tabletop game. I'm not saying that's bad. Again, like Critical Role is popular for a reason. I really like their cartoon, and I think 2 people here actively like their show as well. Like watch it, and I pay for Beacon as well. So like it's great stuff. I just I bounce off it just because of my own attention span issues. So my goal here was to make a show for people who maybe have the similar problem. So like people like me and Jesse who really want to watch these sorts of things but have trouble getting into it.
Yeah.
We did get a question. Let's see here. North Country Man asking, are there any classic D&D things that were absolutely never going to happen in this game? Feel like mainly we really only hit like race restrictions when you created the world, like what D&D races just didn't exist.
Yeah, like, and if a player were to come and say, I want to play this type of character, I'd say, yeah, let's go for it. I'm generally not a big fan of how orcs are handled, so I kind of avoid orcs in general, because I think conceptually they're kind of mean and gross. As much as I love Tolkien's work.
Yeah, you kind of changed how trolls and goblins work too.
Yeah, I tried to bring them back to like their original roots, where they're not necessarily evil; they're just magical
Tricksy
people. And yeah, I don't like the sort of myopic view a lot of typical like classic D&D stuff does, where it's like this whole ethnicity species of people are evil. It's like, whoa, that's kind of fucked up.
They were made by an evil god.
Yeah,
so they're all just bad.
Yeah, I hate that. Like, I think painting any broad group of people as wholly evil is morally wrong.
It's typically a bad worldview.
Yeah, so I try to not do that as much as
that
possible.
whole race is evil. We should eradicate it. Yeah. Typically not a good starting point.
Yes, exactly. And like I'm totally a fan of like, hey, this culture has a lot of like problems with like in it, because most cultures have some sort of problem that's worth addressing, and like that's totally fair game. It's just, yeah, these people are predisposed to being evil is oof. I
don't need that in my fantasy. I go here to pretend the world is bad.
Shit, I'm not into it. Someone else asked something. I think it was Cody asked something. How long do you think the series is going to run? If you have any idea, we don't have any idea.
We have 5 episodes so far. And if they're well supported, then
well, and we definitely plan to film another like chunk of story soon. I believe in September we'd like to get that started. And then it'll just be a matter of getting that stuff presentable for you guys and then releasing that. So expect like sort of like mini series-esque seasons, like
seasonal batches.
Broken up, and they'll air weekly once they're ready to go.
Our little Avatar books,
which I know is not the usual way to do like a long running campaign, but I think it's the best way for us to handle it, given the scale of it and our own limitations as a company. We're a very small company. But I hope we make it seem like we're more impressive than we are with the quality.
With that, we may be actually spinning down now.
Possibly. But that
about right.
that was a good bit of time. If someone has other questions, feel free to get them in before
we'll be back next week for another Talkback.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll be back next week. We'll do another Talkback. We'll air another episode. And tomorrow, this episode is going to be public for everybody on 4-Star Bento, and patrons at the exact same time will get episode 2 at that time as well. So if you really, really want to watch and you have $5, you can either become a member on 4-Star Bento or a patron on our Patreon for $5 and watch episodes ahead of time and also get those backstory episodes.
Oh, I do have one more question that I just saw pop up. Lanny, did you grow the beard out just for Karna? Yes, I did shape my beard specifically for my character for this campaign. Now I have another reason for it that I think works, but we'll get more into that later.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I need to get someone else editing. So I can focus on that for a bit.
Business email is tfsabridged@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You have a profile, I'll look at it at the very least.
We got high standards, but we'll look.
High standards, low budget. Just it.
Well, no, we
winning combination.
To be clear, we pay people very well. We go out of our way.
We'll make promises we can't keep.
We pay people appropriately. The appropriate amount.
What we find appropriate. What we pay people, what we agree to.
We'll ask for your rate.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and thank you so much. This was Tales Unraveled, and next week there will be another one just for you, only for you. If you show it to anybody else, you go to jail.
Yeah, we'll be in person next time, sitting around a table.
We'll be in person next time, unless somebody else gets sick. Don't get sick, guys.
Looking at you too.
Wash your hands.